everybody, good morning, and welcome back to Reaper Pro Tips with me, your host, Anne, and disembodied brain Justin. We're just regressing. Like, pretty soon it's going to be like disembodied soul Justin as he drifts ever farther away from actually being involved in this show. But for now, he's a disembodied brain. Yay, tiny fox. Thank you, Warshadow, for the tiny fox. Looks like a tiny fox anyway. It's adorable. But I am soft on foxes, so yeah, definitely bullish on foxes. How are you guys today? Good! Better than the 102-degree fever, Rex. Because that's just rough. It's a kitty. It's an orange kitty. It was the pattern. It was the color pattern that on the snout that got me confused. Yay, Shadow Raven. Thanks for the tiny cheer, Rex. Tiny cheer. It's adorable. Awesome. Let's get some paint mixed up. So we're going to block in the, we're going to do the skin and the hair on this guy today, if I decided. We're going to use one of the weird browns to make a skin tone. Weird brown. Weird brown, that's the weird brown we're using. We're going to gray it out. I don't like going all gray. I know that I'm basing him on a WoW Dark Iron Dwarf, but I still, I don't like going gray with skin tones. It's really inhuman. It's hard to make them look down to 101. Wow, a whole degree, but it makes a difference. It does make a difference. Still bad that you feel so crappy, Rex. I'm sorry you had such an extreme reaction. However, that does argue that it's a very good thing that you got the vaccination, right? So, alrighty, so let's use some nut brown. But yeah, I just don't like going totally gray with skin tones. I could see, where you could work with it. It's just my own personal preference that I like to have a little bit of brown in there. Maybe because I like how neutral it is. Even so, if we're going to put gray in this, it's going to carry a lot grayer because we got all these rich brown metals. So the skin tone is still going to look a lot grayer than it is. Just comparing. Oh, there's my gray liner. Speaking of grays. So let's go with 1, 2 of nut brown, and let's go with 2. Let's see what we got here. No, I don't want a stone gray. We'll go with my old friend Cloudy, probably. One, 2. Let's start with a 2 to 2 and see what that looks like. Because I do want it a little gray. Grayer than nut brown anyway, and I want it a little lighter than nut brown, so sometimes you can get a nice, yeah, that's about perfect actually. For those of you looking for, I've said this before, but I'll say it again, for you looking for a replacement for the Dusky Skin Triad, this is a good one. And it uses awesome nut brown, which many of you may not otherwise use, as it is a kind of a purpley brown. Those colors like nut brown tend to get canceled because it's an odd brown, because it's kind of purpley and a little bit washed out. A lot of people don't reach for it. They don't know what to do with it. But this is the color that I gave you guys to replace Volcano and Dusky Skin and all of those colors that are like that have gotten canceled. So if you want that option to easily mix the Dusky Skin Triad, you had better buy a bottle of nut brown. That's all I'm saying. All right. Yay. All right, cool. Let me get sorry, my cursor was in an inconvenient place in the chat. It was blocking things. So, yeah, maybe I'll go with that. I'll go with that. I like that color. It is kind of close to a lighter version of Volcano Browns. It's close to a lighter, kind of halfway between Dusky Skin and Dusky Skin Highlight. So I'm cool with it. Let's grab an actual brush. Good morning, Trouble. Yeah, I'm having oh, good. Yay, yoga was easier. Yeah, you make a lot of, if you do it every day, you'll notice a lot of progress really fast, which really encouraged me. I don't know about you, but it really was encouraging. And your back, if your back has pain, you should start to feel better too. Like this morning, I was able to just bend over and pick up my yoga block and not only have a little twinge, which is huge progress from feeling like I was crippled and could barely bend over without pain. And that's only been like 3.5 weeks, 4. You'd never have enough paint, Carrie. Ever. Let me grab my glasses. So I have road trip tomorrow. I won't get any work done on the Patreon stuff over the weekend. But that's probably good. Every once in a while I have to like tell my workaholic side to go away. So we're just going to put this on and see how it looks. Because we are dealing with a purpley, a purple accent color here. And I did choose a brown that was a little bit of purple. So that kind of pulls this skin color closer to that purple, which means they could fight. But this is kind of why I'm going with a brown. Like, if I had gone with Dark Elf skin, which is a gray purple, it would have fought terribly with this bright purple that we've got going on for an accent. But when you can mix in a darker brown, you get closer to neutral, and brown tends to help things get along. So that's why I did it this way. And why I want to go with a brown skin tone. That and I kind of was talking about this a little bit yesterday on my my personal stream. But I feel like brown just helps other colors get along. So I often strive to include brown on my models. There we go. His nose goes weird. Comes down, hooks down in front, and then goes back up. His mustache is dramatic. And I think he's got his little teeth bared there, and I think that's just a lower lip. So I'm going to paint it like that. And then we're going to kind of assess. Oh, yeah. Oh, good, Trouble. Yeah. Yeah, as you strengthen everything else, it's just weird. It's like a chain reaction. You strengthen your core and everything else gets a little bit stronger too. Totally worth it, in my opinion. Though I definitely had a point midway through this week where I was just like, arg, not this again. You know, getting up and doing it. But I got through it, and now this morning I was more enthused about it. You're going to have, like, low points where you just don't feel like doing it. The key is just keep going. Then it becomes a habit. Then you just do it. You don't think about it. It becomes part of your morning, and then you feel weird when you don't do it. David thinks that he's gotten away with it because we didn't do yoga the middle of the week, but I'm totally going to get him to do yoga on Sunday night. So he's sitting across from me, so I'm going to see if he registers his comment. Hello, Val. How's it going? Oh, wow. The big cheer racks. Thank you. Alrighty. So we've got that. I'm going to get this in focus, zoom in, or the other way around. So that's not a bad brown. It's washed out. It is definitely, like, it's fighting a little bit. Because it's grayer than this, because we do have a brown metallic on here. So it is causing the skin, like I said, the skin is going to end up looking more gray. So where I go from here is going to be interesting, because I kind of want to make it harmonize a little bit more. So now I'm thinking I may use just nut brown as the shadow for the skin. I was thinking maybe I would use something like Kraken ink, because we've already got purple, purple subtly on several parts of this model. Because the Tin Bits has a purple shadow, and then we've got our purple cloth and the handle of the weapon. But I think I might need a little bit more of a neutralizer. I don't know. I'm going to try this first and slide a little bit more away from the gray. And then we got to question what we're going to do for highlights. I'm probably just going to have to add white, but I'm a little bit... We'll see how this improves it. Got to do the shadows. And actually, I should grab my colors for the beard. Which we're going to do kind of like we did the Fire Giants. So we're using skin colors to paint our beard, but monster skin colors. And then I'm actually going to go up from there... Maybe with some fire orange instead. Like, go up with a pure orange. We'll see. We'll see. Going up with the ochre color on the Fire Giant worked really well. And it was certainly fiery enough. I'm just mixing all this up separately. So Kobold Scale, Goblin Skin. I think I've got my ochre still over here. Yeah. Good, Pan. Yeah, you're the weird one then. Congratulations, welcome to the Weird Club. I'm glad you like the nut brown. It's based on an ink I used to use. Hey, Daffy Weir. My hobby. You should remove whatever is not based around your current project. That's what I usually do. It's like, to avoid like over committing, I'm just like, all right, these paints would be useful like down the road, but they're not useful for what I'm working on right now. So I'm going to put off, you know, make a note of them or put them in your wish list or whatever. But concentrate on the thing you're working on right now. Because then when it comes time to work on that next project where maybe you want those other colors, you can get excited about it and use it as an excuse to buy those things and make yourself, you know, like excited about buying a new thing and using it. Hello, Meow. Hello, hi, Meow. Mini Meows. Welcome. Yeah, he's progressed very, very quickly, Grey Wolf. So we're going to do his beard. We're going to do his beard using monster skin colors, just like the Fire Giant, because I really liked how that came out. So we're using Kobold Scale for a reddish tone, auburn tone, Goblin Skin for the main orangey tone, because I want red hair, and then the highlights will be a little bit of Ogre Skin. Yeah, he's almost done, to be frank, Grey Wolf. We need to shade and highlight his purple and his black. We need to highlight, but the black will be like, it'll be like one episode probably, and then, yeah, he's pretty much like, my point in painting him was really to show the metallics, and that's what we did very nicely, so. Alrighty. What was that, Trouble? I didn't catch what Val asked you. Alrighty, so now we want to blend, and to blend, I want to be able to, I think I am going to go for my Da Vinci today for that. More paints to add for the cart. But yeah, so Kobold Scale, Goblin Skin, and Ogre Skin weirdly make a pretty good red hair color. Because the orange is a burnt orange, which is pretty much what you want when you're doing red hair. You want an orange with a bit of brown in it. You can grab the Kobold Scale is a dark red that also has some browns in it. And you can use it. It's an unnatural red for like a human, but when you're doing like fire giants or magical things, you can get away with it, especially if your other colors are really saturated. The fact that our purple is really intense and high chroma means that, i.e. bright, means that we can get away with going a little bit unnatural with our beard color, and it'll end up looking very forge, you know, very, very fiery, which is why I did it on the Fire Giant. Yeah, I guess the models I've been choosing are pretty simple, Chibi, because they're coming along really fast. So then you take a little bit of your Ogre Skin, and I'm working while all this is wet, as you can see. And a little bit, keep that up on the top portions of the beard. So keep your Ogre Skin up there. And then you really can grab a little bit more of your Goblin. I'm actually working with these paints full strength. You can put them on your wet palette if you're a wet paletter, and do this. It would work just fine. But I kind of want to wet blend and get a nice blend going on there. I do put the red up in the shadow near the top, right under the chin or the mouth there. And then right under that, we're going to put the yellow just a little bit, blend it into the orange a bit, but that's kind of your highlight. That's why I'm using a smaller brush today to start this blend out, even though I could go with a bigger brush and do the blending in general and then go back in. But you can use any color like this war shadow. I mean, this is just, you know, we named these paints. Ron named these paints, but I mean, any color. It's like I use earth brown for leather all the time. You know, it's things like that. Shield brown I use for leather or for weathering effects, right? You gotta just look at the color and ask yourself, what can I do with this? It's just a color. Yeah, I want a fiery beard, and fiery mustaches. So let's do some fiery mustaches. So start with your middle. Actually, we need to probably separate out the mustaches from the rest of it, though. He's got these beautiful, long, flowing mustaches. But that's fine. We'll put down some orange first. And I'm putting it on, like, a little extra. Like, I am putting it on pretty thickly so that it stays wet. This is the key. If you're wet blending, using a little bit more paint on the model will allow it to stay wet and hold off drying. It won't dry quite as fast. It gives you more time to play around and blend. But even if it starts to dry, even if part of it dries, you can always just come back in and add another little bit of the orange to resuscitate it. So we're going to go with the red back in the shadows again. And then the orange. So like that. And then the yellow, right where you're going to get highlights. So I rinsed out my brush real quick. Sometimes I'll just go back and forth between colors without rinsing out my brush. And sometimes I will rinse it, depending on what I'm doing. With the yellow, I want the yellow to be fairly strong and clean. So I'm keeping that pretty unmixed in with the other things. So I went back and cleared out my brush to make sure that I could get that pop of yellow up on the top of the mustache here. Good morning, Splat. How's it going? Oh, hey, love. I saw you started your other model, your next model the other day. Love and music. A dragon. Very ambitious. Dragons are, like, big. They're just big. They take me so long to paint. You did? It's done. Yeah, yeah. When you're a beginner, it's so easy. You know how many hours that would take me, love and music? Like 120. I'm not joking. The last dragon I tried to paint took at least 100 something, 120, I think. That's doing it to a really high standard, though, with all the tricks, right? It's not just painting it quick. But yeah, as you get better, you tend to slow down because you learn new techniques, and it takes a while to get, to really integrate them. Just like any other hobby, right? It's just like gaming, where I feel like I get good at doing basic stuff, but then I like try to do mythic dungeons, and I'm like, ah! Ah. Next time you stream, if I catch it, I'll just chat. And then you can show me if he's still around. I assume you kept him, right? Got to keep your first stuff, love, so that you can compare, so you can see how you've improved, because you're going to improve like exponentially now that you're painting regularly. This is the most exciting time for a mini painter, I think, almost, is when you're just starting out and you're getting better, like just by leaps and bounds. Yeah, definitely keep them. Definitely keep them. I mean, unless you're painting something as a present for somebody else. But yeah, if you can, keep your first ones. And then every once in a while, even if you give away a lot of your stuff or sell it or whatever your aim is to do, every once in a while, if you do something that you feel like you leveled up, then keep that one, right? And that kind of gives you an example. And then if eventually, like me, you start teaching classes on this, you've got, like, when they're like, oh, I'll never be as good as you, you've got the, haha, this is my first mini, and that always, like, blows their little minds. People always think, like, that, for some reason, they think that people, like, that are teaching, like, got that way so fast, and it's like, no, it took us a lot of work to get here. It took us a lot of time, and we used to paint just like you. So, I'm doing red hair on my little, dwarf here. I was self-taught, love, and I'm teaching every day. Let me give you a clue. Yeah, self-taught actually is going to set you up really well, because you're going to experiment and you're going to push things and you're going to learn your own way of doing things. And so never think that, like, being self-taught is actually a pretty cool thing. And it's rare nowadays, right? Because there's so many YouTube videos and there's so many, other people willing to instruct. And that's a good thing, because, it means it's not nearly as frustrating for new painters these days. But like, if you try to do things like yourself and just kind of make notes on, oh, okay, that worked or that didn't work, it will put you in a really good mental spot to just going forward to like innovate and improve. So never think it's a bad thing that you're struggling through on your own. Like some people would be like, you know, oh, you should just go and get instruction from so-and-so. He'll set you straight, or she. But it's not necessary. If you like to experiment and you like to kind of forge the ground yourself, then go for it. Yeah, right? It's you learn like what to do, what not to do. Yes, Chibi, you should always like, we should have a First Minis thread, right? Yeah, you should do that. Yeah, back in the day, exactly. Like when I started trying to get better, like I've been painting for a long time, but I hadn't really like been like, I'm gonna win a golden demon. And when I started getting to that point, I was like, there was only Mini Painter Yahoo group, and there were really no pictures on that, right? It was just people. There was no video. People were just describing what they did, and you kind of had to infer, you know? So it's like, Golden Demon is Games Workshop's national painting competition. Love the music. They have one in several countries, and for a long time the US one has been canceled, but they tried to bring it back, but then COVID hit. So I'm just hoping that they'll follow through now that we're getting a little bit more back to normal. I'm hoping it'll hit next year. So that was my first national level competition. I went to the one in 2001 out in Baltimore to see what I would need to do to win. Like, I was just looking at the winning models and saying, okay, can I paint like that? And came away with the conclusion that, yes, if I work, I can paint like this. So the next year I went back and I won one. Actually, I won two. One in Canada and one in the US. There we go. So we got some of our highlights coming in with that yellow. Hey, Dogfather, thanks for the resub. Fantastic. Prime 15 months. That's something because, man, you have to remember to renew the freaking Prime. Thank you, Love and Music. I'm just driven. Like, I just decided, when I decide I'm going to go and do something like that, I just work at it. And I felt like the painting I was seeing, yes, A-N-N-E. Forster, Foerster. They often put me down. I think Golden Demon website has me as a Canadian, which is super funny. I haven't bothered to just correct them because I always forget. But I still have my Golden Demon winner. Just like I told you to hang on to like this kind of the landmark models in your development. I held on to my Golden Demon winner, even though I was selling everything else at the time to just make rent because I was freelancing at that time. There. All right, so I brought a little bit more red in to bring out those locks, the flowing beard locks there. And this side's a little bit more in shade. I'm gonna keep this side the way it is, I think. I might... Oh, yep, same thing. I was taunted with Annie. I hated it. I told them I haven't been Annie since I was 5, dude. Didn't stop them, because kids are, you know, dumb that way. Like, I think most of us didn't want to be with the in crowd because they were cool. We wanted to be with the in crowd so they'd stop giving us crap. Thank God that's over. I have no urge to be young again. I'm just like, nope, I like where I am right now. We're good. Thank you. Yeah, he's coming along. We did a lot of shading on his metallics, so this is all like metallic paint, and just putting some colors and some regular paint colors in to shade it. Some purple and red to make it more coppery, and then highlighting it with a lighter metallic. But yeah, I'm glad you like him. I'm going to be gone this weekend, so I won't be watching anybody stream, but I'll try to catch one of your streams next week. Alrighty, just blocking in the bottom dark. It really doesn't need any highlights. Nah, I like watching new painters. I like encouraging them. Like, I mean, come on, you guys are the future of the hobby. when I was doing the Golden Demon scene, there was this resistance among some of the top level painters, a resistance to teaching. This feeling that I can't teach other people to do what I do. They'll get better than me, or something like that. I don't know. It was really stupid. And I pretty much said so. And, I started teaching everybody, because it's like, if you don't teach, your hobby dies. Like, it's just like that. It's what's actually happening with some of the historical markets, where there's a bunch of people who are really traditional, and they never really embraced kids in their hobby. And as a result, they're dying. Like, they're dying off. Like, literally in some cases, right? You can do it, Gray. But yeah, so I've never embraced that mindset that I can't, teach, and because everybody else will get better than me. Like, nothing gives me more pleasure than to see one of my people that I helped teach get like gold at ReaperCon. Like, frankly, it's just like, that's why I teach, to see them be so happy that they hit the goals that they wanted to, attain, that their painting is better than they ever thought it would be, and then they go on to teach too, right? And that's what makes me happy in the hobby. Like, winning awards is cool and all, but like, watching the people I teach win awards is even better. If that's what floats your boat. Some people would rather not compete. I totally get it. But I find it cool. It's a cool tool. One, it gives me a deadline doing competitions. It gives me a deadline, so it forces me to finish stuff. And two, it it really does motivate you to get better, right? To try new things, and to look at what other painters are doing, take classes and seminars, and expand your horizons and stuff like that. So yeah, exactly. Yeah, in this hobby, I mean, I'll tell you, love, we're better. Like, here in the US, we're so much better than it is anywhere else in the world. Like, I've talked, when European painters come over, and they're always male, almost always, like 99% of the good painters in like Europe are male. I've talked to them about, why aren't there more women in the hobby over there? And they're like, I don't know, they're just not interested. And I'm like, no, that's not it, actually. Right, exactly. Yep, I'm running in a lot of different crafts. Yep. So that's why, at least me and several other people, and I like to think we made a difference, right? Like, since I really started like competing and teaching almost 20 years ago, I was really trying to open the hobby up for women more. Like, when I worked at the game store in Madison, Wisconsin, I would be like, if a woman came in and she was interested in painting, I would be so super encouraging. And some people have like called me on that and said, it's sexist that you encourage women. And I'm like, you can tell me that when 50% of our hobby is women. That's when you can tell me that. And we're getting close in America. Like, ReaperCon, really close to 50-50. I think we're probably really, really close to 50-50 split between the sexes. But here in the US, we have a lot more women in the hobby. And hopefully it's because so many of us went out and publicly, kicked butt, put ourselves out there, taught, made it an acceptable hobby for women. Because when I first went to Gen Con in, 1990, it was like one woman to every like 49 guys. I kid you not, guys. And now you go to Gen Con, there's families, and there's, there's a much more even split. Yeah, exactly. And I think it's because a lot of us, and people like Felicia Day, and, just women who go and put themselves out there and have fun in this hobby and make it evident to the public that this is not just a guy's hobby. It's important. So, yeah, it's, so I like to think that people like me and Jennifer Haley and Marika Reimer, Liliana Troy, Sue Wachowski, Noelle Meyer, I guess, and, all of us, and Victoria Lamb in Australia, we've made it a bit more acceptable, and so we've helped, right? We've helped get more women into this hobby. But yeah, in Europe, the guys are just like, no, there's nobody. Or there's, like I asked Kirill, he's from Russia. He's like, there are two people, like, there's two in all the mini painters in Russia, and it's an old tradition in Russia. So it's just, yeah, quickie. Well, just, lift your chin and just, tell them you've been RPGing for longer than they've been alive. Actually, there's a story that I have. The first time I went to Madison, when I went to college, and I went into Pegasus Games, and there was a guy in there. I was looking at the D&D stuff, and the guy next to me turns to me and he's like, "So you buying something for your boyfriend?" And I looked at him and I said, "I've been playing D&D since I was 9. And he stopped and he turned around, and he turned back around and he went, "Hi, my name is Scott. Let's start over." And he became one of my best friends all through college. So sometimes, Cookie, you just got to own it, own your geekdom, and just be like, "Dude, you know, I've been playing this game for a while, maybe longer than you have." So but that was like, it was, you know, that was in way long time ago, and it was when there weren't many women in the hobby, and the ones who were in gaming store, you know, in game stores were buying stuff for their boyfriend or their brother or their whatever, right? And that's just, it's changed a lot now. And there's also a lot more female game store employees, which helps, right? Yeah, Fubeka, exactly. Yeah, yeah. I'm still connected to him on Facebook, Grey Wolf, so I still keep track of him. Yeah, you're DMing players who haven't been alive for as long as you've been running games. Yep, yep. We're all going to be in nursing homes running D&D for each other. I'm cool with that. All right, let's see here. I feel like since I blocked in the beard, I need to shade that skin and get it more in line with what I want. Oh, I forgot his eyebrows. No, the eyebrows must be there. The big fuzzy eyebrows. But yeah, if you're a woman in this hobby, you have the opportunity to make a difference by essentially by calling guys on their crap when they're bold enough to put it out there, and for being a conduit that makes it more acceptable for other girls to get into the hobby. Never underestimate the power you have for good. But yeah, being exclusionary never grows a hobby, and it's something that's why ReaperCon is so very, very inclusionary. And I'm happy that Reaper is, you know, definitely Reaper has they've got a motivator for why they want to grow the hobby, because they're a hobby company. But at the same time, there are hobby companies that never learn that lesson, really, that still want to peddle an exclusionary mindset. And so, you know, it exists, but we're getting better, I think. There, we've got some bright orange eyebrows. Oh, that's funny, Cookie. Oh, fill out gaming surveys just to check the female box? Good idea. Oh, construction. Wow, you're in construction. Good for you, Love and Music. That must be a hard field for a female. Just take the hazing. Hey, Great Bear, nice to meet you. I work for Reaper, obviously, since I'm doing their stream. But I did actually work for Reaper, like, full-time for a long, long time. Guys, my anniversary is April 1st. The 18-year anniversary of me working for Reaper. We should celebrate. Is it a stream day? It is, I think it's a Thursday? Wednesday or Thursday. We should have a special stream of Anne's anniversary. The Anniversary. I should paint something completely different. Yeah, no fooling. 18 years, April 1st. War Shadow. And it is the best anniversary in the world, because you're always like, do I really have a job? You know, when you show up on April 1st, when they've told you to start on April Fool's Day, you're like, okay, do I really have a job, or was this a joke? We should do a special giveaway for the anniversary. After 20 years, do I get a gold watch mini? That would be awesome! I want Jason Weeby to sculpt an animated gold watch for me now. Like the Kickstarter's the best way to get in with a huge miniatures bundle, Great Bear. But I'm not sure otherwise. We sell box sets that are like, you know, groups of miniatures. And they're mostly themed. And I think we still sell like the Pirates one and various others. Though the bones are so cheap that they're a good way to get in. I missed a spot. I'm going to just use some red to touch that up.
Yeah, I think it just depends what you're after. If you're after monsters for your D&D game, buy monsters. If you're after PCs, buy PCs. If you're after...
Yeah.
Like, what are you going for?
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking for a big bundle that's like a big deal, then the Kickstarters are the best things to get in on. But we're between Kickstarters right now, so sadly that is not an option. But yeah, otherwise, Great Bear, I mean, the Bones plastic is like super affordable. Like, we're talking, the old days, like minis for $2 or $3, right? And then the monsters are $7 or $8 instead of like in the old days when it was metal, you'd had to pay 50 or 75, right? So, I mean, ask yourself pretty much what you're aiming for. If you're just looking for a bunch of minis to practice on, then it wouldn't really matter. Aw, Blizzard gives their employees a shield and a sword on their anniversaries? Man, I got gypped. Ed, do you hear that?
Now you're gonna get a Bones miniature shield and a Bones miniature
Yeah, Bones miniature shield, right? Oh, boy. Okay, so I'm going to get some of this nut brown going. Here's colors. Let's back up a bit so we can see our colors. All right, so... Okay, have fun, Love and Music. Oh, homeschooling. Good for you. Keep at it. Hopefully they'll go back soon, right? Have a good day, love. It was good to see you. We'll see you online. Paint the Iron Golem with gold NMM for the anniversary. Oh my gosh. I thought we wanted it to be like fun. That just sounds like torment. Maybe I'll dig out one of my Rockies and paint it in gold NMM or copper or something. I think I've got some Rockies lying around still. Like, I got Treasure Chest Rocky almost done, but I think I've got Pouncing Rocky and Flying Rocky. So maybe we'll do that. Maybe we'll do something super fast. I don't think I'm capable of super fast, but you never know. You never know till you try. Alrighty. Maybe if I base coat it before the stream. So now let's take this, the nut brown without the gray added, and I'm going to liven up the skin tones a little bit. I'm going to shade with this richer brown. Thinned it down a little bit. And get under the cheekbones. You can kind of put a little bit of a partition there between the beard and the skin. That makes the face come out a lot more. Yeah, maybe I'll do a Rocky. That's a good idea.
For your anniversary?
Yeah, for my anniversary.
I don't know. I think maybe you should just play an April Fool's joke on every good dance stream.
I don't like April Fool's jokes, though, because I was always the brunt of them. So April Fool's is not my favorite holiday, but it makes it tolerable that it's my anniversary, so I can celebrate my anniversary without qualms. No, I was a very gullible child because I believed people until they betrayed me, so I got betrayed a lot.
Maybe you should do a lesson on painting with toothpicks and explain to everybody why toothpicks are the best tool for miniature.
For miniature painting, everybody would buy it. Yeah, no. Again, that sounds like torture. I want to celebrate my anniversary. Let's do something fun. So shading around the back of the head. He's got a very flat head top, which means that's where your highlight goes. And then right where it cuts away, you can see where I'm putting the shadow. Yeah, I agree with you, Fubecca, that trustworthy people are trusting, right? And people who are more suspicious tend to be... I mean, there are people who are just naturally more skeptical, right? And that's cool. I was just not that child. I wanted to honestly learn about all sorts of things, and I was willing to believe somebody until I was proven wrong in that choice. Oh, look, John! John subbed! Oh, hey, it's almost stretch time. So what do you think, John? Should I paint a special mini for my anniversary? 18 years on April 1st. Working for Reaper. Ed will forget, because he always forgets. He'll forget even more now that I'm not actually working at the company in person. And I can't blame him. $18 years, 18 figures. I painted a bit more than 18 figures. All right, so we've got that. We've got that. We're putting our shading on. The skin is starting to come out a little better with that shading. Yeah, speed painting isn't my thing. Like, I tried to do it. Like, I did Aces of Painting for the first few years at Gen Con. I really didn't have a good time. Like, it really, like, that's putting it mildly. Speed is not where my happy point is. Like, actually spending time on a figure that I like, that's where my happy point is. Getting stuff done fast is cool. We actually are working pretty fast on the Reaper streams, you guys will notice. As somebody pointed out, I finished a lot of models. We're getting close to finishing a lot of models this year. So, and that's since we, you know, given we didn't start out with this format, right? We didn't start out with the format of painting a bunch of models to completion. For the first, like, 6 months or 8 months of this show, we were just, like, doing random models and just doing a couple of techniques on each one. But since we settled down and started just painting things from start to finish, we've actually finished a lot. Yeah, that's true, Inara. That's a good tool. For some people, it's a good tool. For me, it's like I'd done freelancing, and then I'd gone to Reaper and had to paint things on very tight deadlines, and so for me, it was just flashbacks, if that makes sense. Like, it just, I'm gonna get out some liner, guys, so that I can do some really tight, dark shading around the face, and really bring it out more. So for me, it was just, like, more pressure. It was hard for me to get out of that space in my head because I had already done that. So for me, speed painting was... I've always been more comfortable working at my own pace when I'm trying to learn new things and get better. I find that that's where I get my mileage. Everybody's different, right? Some people perform really well under pressure, and I've always kind of admired those people. I just get kind of flustered. So if you are one of them, hats off to you. But yeah, I mean, everybody's different, right? Sometimes speed painting can really help you kind of nail the steps of things. You don't speed paint everything, yeah. That's crazy, Fubeka. That's a lot of minis. A lot of models. Hey, it's stretch time. Stretch time! Alright, so we're going to set this guy down, and then when we come back, we're going to line his skin a little bit more. There we go. Shiny little dwarf. Yeah. I mean, I was speed painting until David's like, you know, thinking I should do texture on this, like, halfling girl's shirt, and then suddenly it wasn't speed painting anymore.
You all started it without me.
No, you actually asked if I was going to do, like, texture or more things on the model. That's what got me to try it. Maybe you don't remember. Because I was just going to paint the dang thing. and not do a whole bunch of, like, time-intensive techniques on it. But then it got derailed, and now it's taking a while.
She always throws me under the bus.
Yes, I'm throwing David under the bus. It's a time-honored Reaper tradition, as you all know. Ed is driving the bus. Because you can't throw Ed under the bus. He's immune. He just bounces back up into the driver's seat. Started at the beginning of February, and you already have a large box of unpainted minis. Welcome to the hobby, Cookie Tigress. Welcome to the hobby. Cool mask. Yeah, I mean, if speed painting got you into the hobby, rock on. Like, it's not a bad way to start. It gets you over... What speed painting can do is get you over that fear factor hump where you're just like, oh, I don't know if I want to try this, I'm going to suck, right? And then you don't do it. But if you speed paint, then that takes that pressure out of it. And then you just get comfortable with it, and then you can get into the hobby.
I like speed
Yeah,
painting.
we're on... I figured out we're Reaper today. What can I say?
I find it fun, and I also find it a good way of learning concepts.
Yeah. Crows and Bones, David and I have already made our hotel reservation for ReaperCon 2021, so we are planning to be there unless some weird catastrophe overcomes the world. We'll see. But we wanted to at least have the res so that we would be prepared. Oh, Dungeons and Doggies miniatures are so cute. I keep thinking about bringing mine up. Yeah, so... Yeah, they put up Flickster. We're going for it. I mean, a lot of cons are going for it this year, right? Here, I'll do some stretches while I'm right here. Do some back stretches. So I can look at you when I'm talking. But yeah, Reaper decided to go ahead. Ours is right around Labor Day, so it's at the end of the summer, which is probably a pretty, like, safer time, right? So we have all summer to kind of see how things are doing, get people vaccinated. So I don't think ReaperCon this year is going to be as big, because I think some people will still be cautious, but I think it'll go on. And, I mean, Gen Con and Origins are already talking about coming back as well. I mean, cons really can't afford to stay not earning money every year. Like, they don't have a big pad of cash to sit on in general, usually. You'll be there unless it gets canceled, yeah. Flights, yeah, exactly, Flickster, right? So in America, we're hoping that most people get vaccinated by the end of summer, for sure. Even if it's a rocky rollout, that should still be a thing, I hope. So, but yeah, cons do not run a big rainy day fund. Exactly, Chibi. And that has gotten several, I think, of the smaller cons in big trouble since COVID. But yeah, no idea about the borders or anything like that. But yeah, just rescheduled. Part in person, part online. Yeah. The UK had a shortage, but now they're making headway. That's good. Yep. Yes, exactly. Especially smaller game companies. You're right, Krios. Yep. Oh, good. Yeah, my parents have theirs. We're actually going to meet them this weekend, Flickster. I'm going to drive down. They're in Arizona. We're going to meet halfway. I'm going to drive 6 hours to see my parents. I haven't seen them for like 2 years. But yeah. It will be nice, right? They're both getting older, so... Road trip for David and I. We've got our audiobooks queued up, so we're all good. I'm going to go and do a couple of yoga stretches, guys, off here on the side, and then I'll come back and we can continue with our dwarf. Get his skin and hair all gussied up. Then he'll be almost done. Alrighty. We got so many things almost done, guys. Like, kitty's almost done. Statue's almost done. Like, Sphinx still has a lot of time on her. But, I mean, look at all the things we're getting done. Like, hold on. Let's look at all our things we're getting done. Boop. Got our big statue, and her arm is glued on now. I glued it on yesterday. We just have to finish the green work and put the little collection dish at the feet of our dancing girl, and then we can paint that carpet. And then Grumpy Cat got her base done, and so now we just have to paint the base, and Grumpy Cat is done. Look at all these guys. Like, wow. I can't remember getting this much painting done ever. You guys are good. But yeah. Not usually, Krios, although I don't think Justin and John go back to check on the paints that I used. It's something we could certainly start doing. Yeah, you probably wouldn't be going if you couldn't drive, yeah. I'm just hoping that the airline thing is much better by then. David and I also have a tentative Hawaii trip in October, so fingers crossed. Yeah, the Discord needs an RTB photo Reaper Pro Tips photo gallery, yeah.
Are all of the videos recorded?
All of these? All Pro Tips? Yeah. Yep, everything is recorded, unless it's on my channel. But yeah, I just wanted us to get our little cheering, like, hey guys, look, we've been getting progress done, yay! There, okay.
So you could always go back and get the paint colors by watching the video.
Yeah, you can always get the paint colors by watching the video, yes. Absolutely. Alright, back to our dwarf. But yeah, I'm getting really close to finishing a lot now. That means we'll be starting a lot of new models soon. So we can start the Julie Wyvern, and we're already started our Monique Chibi, and then Lisette is going to be replacing the Dancing Girl. So yeah, we're getting there. Hey, Mask. Cheers. Yeah, ReaperCon is like... ReaperCon is a different con. It's not just like all these strangers rushing around. Like it does feel very much more like family. You're right, Shadow Raven. It's much smaller, and like everybody just hangs out at tables painting, I mean, and talking and gaming. Yeah, at BlizzCon, I didn't like BlizzCon as much, but when I went, I was into Overwatch and I wasn't into any other games, and I think that made the big difference there. Yeah, clear character specific. Yeah, everybody's very different, right? Mm-hmm. I like to mix it up. Like I do. I think we all Flixer get it. We get in color ruts, like right where we like are drawn to specific colors, and we tend to paint them a lot. I mean, purple and gold is kind of I get stuck in it. I get stuck with purple and gold. So I was trying really hard to get away from some of that with some of my recent miniatures. All right, let's get this skin going on. I want to line and fill in the eyes. Yeah, I've always wanted to paint, what's her name? Sasha, the Time Chaser. The first one. I like her. Because she's talent art and a good sculpt.
Is that a burner?
I'm trying to think. I don't think so. I think it's a Julie? Because her face is different than the Werner face.
Uh-huh.
All right, let's get some heavy shadows under these deep brows. His eyes are very deep set. So I'm going to get my walnut in there and just kind of accentuate that. And I want the eyes to be kind of lava and glowing like a Dark Iron Dwarf from WoW. So I want to get that. I want a shadow under this nose. I want to kind of... He's got teeth down here we still have to paint. And I want a shadow under this lower lip, between it and the beard. So we're doing some lining on the face now to bring some of these details out a bit. A little bit more. Anywhere I need a line, anywhere I need a demarcation. I think the skin shadow, the nut brown, is probably good enough between the beard and the face. I don't want to get a really artificial shadow going on. Because it would definitely go a lot more cartoony if I popped a really dark line between the skin and the beard. And I don't think I want to go there. So yeah, I just really would needed to darken down those eyes so then I can bring them out again. ReaperCon and Adepticon. Similar, but not as much tournament stuff. Like Adepticon is very, very much, has a very heavy tournament gaming. And it's mostly about that, and then you've got a decent offering of miniature painting classes, Flixter. But ReaperCon is all about the classes. Like ReaperCon is like it's shifted a bit. We're introducing more gaming and more stuff every year, but it really is about the classes, painting and sculpting classes, and the competition and stuff like that. So I would say we are more of a hobby convention, and Adepticon is a bit more of a gaming convention, but that both cons are gradually broadening to include more of their weaker point. Plus, ReaperCon has its own painting competition, whereas Adepticon's painting competitions are usually sponsored by the companies they go. Like Adepticon used to have its own painting competition, and then they brought in Crystal Brush, and that kind of just faded out. Yeah, we both have good, strong vendor areas, but the focus is different, right? So, like we get Scale 75 and Andrea reps. And, you know, we've got a fair variety of vendor stuff. I would say, but yeah, again, it's more gaming vendoring, I would say, at Adepticon. Whereas there's a heavier and heavier emphasis on, like, painting and hobby. Although, yeah, no, our vendor area still has plenty of game companies, small game companies, dice companies, stuff like that.
Also, I would say that Adepticon is before anything else a Games Workshop convention.
Yep, good point. If you couldn't hear David, he said that Adepticon, before anything else, is a Games Workshop convention, and that is very, very true. It has been for a very long time. MSP Open. Crows and Bones, keep in mind, my advice for you is enter several things. Like if you've painted like 3 good things, and you would just want to enter the painters category, enter all 3. Don't just enter one thing, because the judge teams are going to go around and they're going to look at your offering for that category and say, okay, this guy painted 3 different things, and we're going to look at each of your things and we're going to choose the model that we can rate the highest. So entering more than one thing actually is, I think, a better strategy. No, Crows and Bones. Everything. MSP Open is open to everything. We try to make it like a World Expo. We have special manufacturer awards for Reaper stuff, but then other companies like Dark Sword and Chimera, and there are a few other companies, Bombshell, all of them have sponsored manufacturer awards in the past too. So really what you want to keep an eye out for is the manufacturer awards that are announced and see which companies are going to be sponsoring awards, and kind of, you can always plan your strategy that way. Good, Daffodweir. All right, let's see. Where were we? I got distracted. I get distracted with questions. That's good, though. I love getting distracted by questions. I'm going to actually get some pure white to light up his eyes so that we can make them bright and fiery. Because I'm going to paint a brighter color over that white. Yeah, Flickster, it is, if you've been to a World Expo, we use that system. Shepard Payne actually gave us permission, because he created the open system judging method, and he worked with us a little bit when he was still alive, and kind of gave ReaperCon his blessing to kind of alter the judging a little bit to be more like what we do, because there's less emphasis on building, right? Because a lot of our models are Reaper minis, right? They're like maybe 2 pieces. So we still have an ordnance division, but like the open division is a lot less emphasis on like scratch sculpts and more on conversion, because that's like kind of how our hobby has progressed. But yeah, otherwise it's the same system World Expo uses. Except we don't split into fantasy and other. Everything is judged in one category. So painters is painters. It's not painters sci-fi modern versus painters fantasy, or painters fantasy sci-fi versus historical. It's not. We don't split it that way. Oh, nope, nothing?
I never really understood why they split those.
Yeah, I never understood it either. I mean, but...
Because it's not like you're limited by the number of awards in each category.
Right. So, Flickster, essentially most painting systems, like Golden Demon, they'll give you a first, second, third. Like, everybody enters unit, right? The category of unit or single figure, and they pick the top 3 out of that. And those people get Golden Demons, and everybody else gets nothing. With open system, if your piece deserves a gold medal, it gets a gold medal. Even if we're giving out 60 gold medals across the span of the competition, that just means that the competition has an extremely high level that year, and you're really being judged against what you could have done. Like your own level. You're being judged against yourself. So it's more like a juried art show, the open system, and less like a competition where there are 3 winners and everybody else loses. The other big difference is that the categories aren't like single figure or unit or whatever. They're actually painters, open, and ordnance. So painters is just you're judging the paint job with very little attention other than basic prep to how you've done anything else. Open is for like sculpting conversions. It's being judged equally to your paint job. And then we've also got a diorama category where your story is being judged in addition to your sculpting, your composition, your conversion, your painting, all of it together, so essentially, yeah, the first big difference I say is that if your piece deserves a silver or a gold or whatever, you're going to get one. It doesn't matter. Nobody receives an award by excluding anyone else. That's key. Because that's like gives you a better idea how you are doing, right? We're about encouraging the hobby. And so we would rather give people feedback. And in that spirit, the other big difference is that after the awards ceremony, all of us judges go over into the competition room, and you can go up to the desk, find out who judged your model, and go talk to them about what you need to improve. So direct feedback after the award ceremony, which I don't think any other competition does. Although I've seen it happen at places that use the open system, like the Tulsa show and the Chicago show. But it's not like official. It's more like people kind of know that they can do that. Whereas we made it an official thing. All right, let's get these eyes blocked in here. Little eyeball. He has little pin eyeballs. Tiny little eyeballs. Tiny little spark eyeballs. Hey, Chav, nice to meet you. Yeah, you could enter 3 items. Yes, exactly. Exactly, Flickster. Although I should say that if you're aiming for manufacturer awards, for example, say you were aiming to get an award from Bombshell and you were also just entering the general competition, if you entered then 2 pieces in Painters and one was a Bombshell piece and one was a Reaper piece, you would qualify, each of those pieces would qualify separately for those manufacturer awards, even if that wasn't the piece we chose to judge in the general competition. So there is, if you're looking at manufacturer awards, because a lot of them give a lot of store credit, or they'll give, some of them give cash prizes, things like that. Some of them give trophies. So that's why I say always look at the manufacturer awards and who's giving what. All right, I'm having trouble with this eyeball. I need to turn it around so I can see it. And then I can hit it. Remember to always turn the model. When you're trying to hit a little detail, make sure your hand is in a comfortable position. Oh, I need a little more paint on my brush. My white wasn't very thin because I didn't want to have to go over it a lot of times. So it was definitely not wanting to come off the brush super smooth. There we go. Ah, okay, so got a little bit on his nose, but that's fine. Grab some water. Just get it right off. And I can trim up the lower part there. All right, there we go. So his eye got a little big, so I'm going to grab some paint. Are the judges at Adepticon painters? It depends on which competition Max Styles, I think. Yeah, kind of like sub-competitions within the bigger one, Flickster. We broke 1,000 entries 2 years ago at ReaperCon. Are the judges at Adepticon painters? Like, when I judged the Crystal Brush one year, and the other judges were also painters, Max Styles, but I'm not sure.
I think Crystal Brush was always judged by painters, but Crystal Brush is no more.
Right, Crystal Brush no longer exists.
It's like what competitions are going to be at Adepticon when it comes back, I think is nobody really knows.
Messed that up. No, but Golden Demon was not necessarily judged by painters. In fact, when I was competing with in the demons, they were more likely to be judged by the sculptors. Like the Perry twins actually gave me my first Golden Demon. For those who know those legendary brothers. All right, I'm going to touch up this eyeball because I majorly moofed it up. Moofed. That's a new word. Haven't done that before. So there we go. Much better. Trimmed up the bottom. Krios, some stuff happened organizational wise in CMON. They are going further away from miniatures and more toward board games, and they decided that Crystal Brush no longer fit who they were becoming. Also, the guy who always championed Crystal Brush and kind of was responsible for launching it got relocated to like China. I don't know if he's still there, but so kind of a reorg and reassessment of their priorities, and so they called it off. I've heard a rumor that they're talking about bringing it back, but I've only heard that rumor and nothing concrete.
When you say they were planning on bringing it back, you mean Cool Mini was, or they were going to sell it to somebody else who was going to run it?
I don't think that it's a saleable entity.
Because I heard both rumors, or at least that they were trying to sell it.
Oh yeah, they were trying to sell it. That was presented to me as a fact.
But I don't know. You may be right that it's not really a money-making venture, and so there's not a big reason for anyone to buy it.
Yeah, I think when they were trying to sell it, they were really valuing it pretty high. When really, it costs you a lot of money. Boy, his eyeballs are uneven. Okay, I'm going to fix that. Oh, I'm just messing this eyeball up, right, left, center. See, now you all can feel better about your messed up eyeballs, because I mess them up too. So I'm just going to start back from the beginning. Block it in and re-highlight. It's a nice small space, so re-highlighting and redoing should be easy. But yeah, let's face it. If you've got Crystal Brush, you're paying out $10K if you keep the prize structure, which is really the reason it draws so many people, right? Is the big prizes. So then you're going to pay out $10K, and you're doing it really for publicity. And there aren't many miniatures companies that could afford to do that every year. And it's probably going to be a miniature company if anybody wants to buy it. So, and if you don't keep the big prizes, it doesn't have as much prestige. So at that point, like, it's a very specialized market at that point as far as who could really run Crystal Brush or take or buy Crystal Brush and use it well, right? He's not wearing a chainmail bikini, so he can't have the horrible messed up eyeball look, right? It could be that the molding here is just a little bit uneven, but I'm gonna try to just set his eyeball a little bit higher. Yeah, it's a PR event. It's advertising in short, Chibi. It was a community goodwill and advertising event, and Dave Dowse started it because he wanted to start a painting competition that was as prestigious as Golden Demon was at that time, which was the most prestigious competition in America, but he wanted it for all manufacturers. And he wanted huge cash prizes. Like, he wanted to bring that kind of revelry, that kind of spectacle, that kind of experience to the hobby community in America. And so that's how Crystal Brush started. And blaming the molding for all your moofs. Just gonna... Gold is like, getting from bronze to silver is a jump, but it's not, like, I would say not an undoable jump for any of you who've been kind of, learning from my streams and others who are really good. It's silver to gold. That's where you really have to tighten your painting. All right. Much better. Yay. Even eyeballs. See? Ta-da. Yeah, it was just like his lower lid is so prominent on that side. It was hard. Bronze to silver is hard. It's mostly tightening your paint job and getting a little bit of, like, getting highlighting and shading to look good. Crowley. So if you want to get to silver and you're currently at bronze, normally what we see in bronze is highlights and shading is there, but they're pretty rough, right? And there isn't a lot of precision. So I'd say to go from bronze to silver, exercise your lining, work on tightening details, get your highlights a little bit more smooth, and get a bit more contrast. And that's pay attention to details, those things to tighten your model to the point where it can be a solid silver. Like right now, this guy would be a solid silver, I would say. Like once I put the highlights on the skin and the highlights on the black. But he's not got the wowza factor to get to gold. Like, I don't think that anybody here is a gold model that I paint on stream. I would say that I normally, the level I paint to on stream is going to be a solid silver. Hey there, Matt. Sup? But yeah, like I pretty much, those are the techniques to get to silver, is like practice your lining, your attention to small details, make sure you're thinning your paint, make your highlighting a little bit more integrated and make it make sense. You could go smoother. You could, if you want to do textures, but that's gonna, I think textures are actually harder than smooth highlighting, that for me, but not everybody agrees with that. It depends on what kind of tools you use and how you've learned, right? So I just worked for a long time on making stuff smooth. So for me, that's like not as hard. But whatever the case, it's just a tighter miniature. And using layering instead of dry brushing, right? And, just that's all part of getting more precise, because you can't really be precise with dry brushing. You can be precise to a point, but not beyond. So what we're looking for is like essentially, a little bit more advanced technique usage and a tighter looking model. But then it also depends, right? Because lately, like, stuff like comic book style is becoming really popular. And I would say that you could get comic book style to a gold level.
Oh, sure. Like, I'm sure Jessica Bathory's got plenty of golds for her comic book style stuff.
Right. So we are open to other styles. But in general, if you're not trying to do one of those really interesting, like, kind of, sideways styles, which are very different, and you're just trying to get, like, an Ann level model, for example, I would recommend becoming better at your layering, embracing some lining, because it'll make your contrast go up, or finding other ways to do those things. Like, because really it's contrast, it's tighter detail, it's attention to detail. You want the model to look sharp and to bring out the personality and the details on the model. That's what we're always out for. Oh yeah, silver to gold. Well, because Dogfather, getting to gold is like popping it up to that next level where you're like, you paint your model until you think it looks really good, and then you spend another 10 hours on it looking at somebody else's, like looking at a Jessica Rich model online or something, saying, oh my gosh, okay, so the next level is and a lot of that I always tell people is when you're trying to go from silver to gold, the sculpt is important. Don't choose a sculpt that fights you. Don't choose one with mucky detail that you're gonna have to paint plastic surgery. You know, try to choose a very well sculpted model and then do the best job you can on it. A model that has kind of, has issues is gonna fight you. That's gonna lead to frustration, a lot of wasted time, and probably a lower class result. And sometimes you don't discover the weaknesses. Just mixing a skin highlight here to show you guys. Just adding a little bit of white to it to see if it's going to go too chalky. Sorry, got derailed there. But yeah, I feel that model choice is very important for competition. A lot of people I know will pick like a model that they really like the personality of, but then when they start painting it, they're like, wow, his hand is just a glob, or wow, his face has serious issues with the molding. And it's like, yeah, you don't want to be stuck in the middle of trying to turn that into a competition level piece when you have to like go back and resculpt parts of it. You want to pick a pretty strong piece out the gate. You also want to choose a piece. Yeah, see, I'm gonna blend it in a little bit. You want to choose a piece that plays to your strengths. So if your strength is not freehand, but it is non-metallic metal, then choose a piece that has a lot of room for NMM, but don't worry about whether it has big open spaces for freehand. So play to your strengths. But if you're a freehand whiz, choose something with lots of cloth that you can do crazy freehand on. And if your weakness is NMM, don't choose something with a lot of metal. Oh, thanks for the resub, Silver Tongue. 2 months. Welcome. Yay, I'm glad you liked us enough to sub us for another month. So doing little highlights there on the nose. They are a bit, when you're dealing with the gray and you're bringing up a lot of white, it does tend to go chalky. But the secret here, guys, if you get chalkiness, go back to the color that you've used that doesn't have a lot of white in it. So in this case, that's the basic nut brown. Throw some water into it and glaze with it. You don't need to darken down. You won't lose much highlight. But what you'll do is because this is a pretty rich color without a lot of white, you'll knock down whatever looks chalky. It'll take the chalkiness down and blend things in. Hey, Shadow Raven, have fun. Thanks for showing up, as always, and enjoy your lunch. We still have a few. We got about 20 minutes. 15. For life. I like that your name is Silver. All right, I'm going to thin down. Because I got chalkiness there, I'm going to thin down my highlight color a little bit. So it's a little more transparent. Let's see if I can fix. But yeah, actually, one of the ways I advise people when you really want to get better is to find, if you really like David's work, or you really like my work, you really like Marika or Jen, or, any number, Michael Proctor or Rhonda, find one of their models that you can find a good, fairly high-res picture of online that you think you would like to paint, and then try to copy their paint job. Don't ask them how they did it. Just try to copy it yourself. And that, as you pay attention to each small area and see what they did, that will help you improve your painting. Now we're going to get kind of a rounded highlight in the center of the head here. Though he's got a pretty flat head. We want a little bit of a rounded dome. So when you've got a rounded area like this, you want your highlight to be round too. But yeah, so taking even if you're just working on something like eyeballs, like say you like the way that Derek paints eyeballs, then you want to look up some pictures of models that Derek Schubert has painted and get one of them and concentrate on trying to copy his eyeballs. Try to see what he's doing. And some things will surprise you. Like sometimes you may discover that a painter has like done paint plastic surgery on something, like where they've actually painted the eyeball slightly larger than it is on the sculpt. That's pretty common if we want to get a really good expression, to use paint to slightly artificially enlarge the eye. All right, there we go. See the nice highlight on top of his head? Yay, nice highlight. So yeah, thinning the paint allowed me to do better blending and to get less chalkiness. And this is really thin. Because it's got pure white in it, you can see it's like nothing. But you don't need it to be like much more than this in order to get it to play nice. Because it's like, even just a little bit of that, because it's got white in it, is going to show up really strongly. Like, boom. Like, there's that stripe down the middle of the nose. That's the invisible paint. Just made that stripe down the bridge of the nose. So it's all relative. The paint might look really thin to you, but if it's got pure white in it, it's going to cover. Even that thin, it's going to bring out stuff. All right, so there we go. A little bit more, too much. Oh yeah, this is a well palette, not a wet palette. I don't use wet palettes. They're not my my groove. I like to thin my paint a lot. I work with a lot of glazing. I work with a lot of really thin layering. And I'm a control freak, so I like to very precisely control the thinness of my paint. I like to dial it in and then run with it and not have to mix every brush full. So wet palettes are very frustrating to me because I can't work as thin as I like, and I can't keep it at the consistency I like because it's always going to wick moisture through the paper. So I recommend every painter try both. Experiment. Understand that thicker paint on a wet palette is probably your sweet spot, and that if you like to work with really thin paint, a well palette may be what you would really enjoy. Pure white is our most like thinnable paint, like pan. It's actually, pure white is our highest pigmented white. It's got the most white pigment load in it, and it thins divinely. So I almost never use an off-white for this, because off-whites have other pigments in them. They won't have as heavy a load of white. Dragon white is a different formulation, and so it's got a very different base, but it's got different amounts of like white pigment. All of our whites are white, but they have varying amounts of like pigment and additives and different bases. So pure white is still the king of whites, as far as I'm concerned. Like, because once you add a different base, you may notice it impacts thinability. And I like to be able to take my white like down to, 2.5 water to 1 drop of white, and it still won't separate, and I can layer with it. I mean, that's what I wanted. When I built the line, that quality was what I was looking for in a white, because all the other whites on the market would get to the point where you could maybe layer with them smoothly, but they fell out of solution. They wouldn't stay in solution. And so that's why I made pure white the way it is. So for me, I will most often just work with pure white expressly. There are some other colors I do use on occasion. Sometimes I'll go up with bleached linen instead. This also has a pretty heavy load of pigment on top of everything else, although it does have some non-white pigment in it. Yeah, Dogfather. Sorry, I've had a really, really crushing week, so I'm trying to get back on it. I know I haven't been on the Discord as much, but I will get on it because, well, I'll be in a 6-hour road trip tomorrow, so I won't have any time to do anything other than futz with my phone, right? If I'm not driving. But yeah. I consider pure white better than any of our other whites, Pan. I had to do other whites for the other lines because you can't have a paint line without white. But pure white is still, I think, the king for me. Always will be. Like, I really should buy a dozen bottles and just, like, fully commit. I should buy stock in pure white. Ah, dear. Alrighty. I think we're good here. He's really only got skin on that one part, and I really like how it is looking now. So I don't think I need to line anywhere else. We just need to get his bright eyes in. And I think I'm going to use the orange and the yellow. to mix a color. So I'm still going to use kind of the beard colors a little bit. I may mix some brighter color in. We'll see. The ogre skin plus the goblin makes a really bright orange. So I may not need anything else. But clear brights are a great way to work with this sort of thing. When you do this underpainting white and then going over the top with a color, if you need it to be really bright, yeah, that's not enough. Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to go for the clears or something close to clear. Let me grab my sunrise. But clear brights work really well for this when you need a tiny little thing to pop and kind of look glowy. I'm just gonna use some really bright orange. Go for it that way. Gonna redo that white though. Oh. My brush is like, no. There we go. Paint kit. Silver, if you are an experienced painter, then I would say grab the starter kit. It's 11 colors. It's pretty much our key, our black, our white, you know, a good blue, good red, good yellow, good metallics, you know. It's a good sample kit to get used to Reaper paint. And then if you are if you're like more of a beginning painter, then I would recommend picking up the Learn to Paint kit, which has an instruction booklet to talk about basic techniques, but also has 11 colors that are also a pretty good selection, although I don't think there's a red in the first set. So that's still coming out really dark, probably because it's like underneath these heavy brows. So I may have to actually use some pure yellow. Some really bright yellow. Where's my yellow? I think I've got clear yellow in here. Yeah, I do. But yeah, Reaper's a little bit different than GW. So our base colors are a little bit more fluidy. Not as thick. I did that on purpose to make them easier to like get like washes and glazes and blending and stuff like that. But it means that you may need 2 coats for your base coat depending on what you're doing. Although honestly, if you watch Duncan, who used to be at Games Workshop doing their videos, like he always says 2 thin coats for a base coat anyway. So like, you're still in that ballpark. So I'm going to add some clear yellow to bring up this orange color. I think I really want a smaller brush. Where's my tiny brush? Tiny brush time. But yeah, the starter kit from Reaper is a nice buy because it gives you a nice selection of our paints. So you can experiment with them, kind of get used to the consistency, judge whether you like them or not, and you won't be too far, you know, you won't have sunk a lot of money in it. So the starter kit is usually what I recommend. But unless you're a new painter, and then the Learn to Paint kits, both of them are really a good value. Because they also give you some figures and a really good instruction booklet that's done by Rhonda, one of our painters. Bird with a brush. She has a great painting blog. Let's see here. I'm trying to get that eyeball, and I got a little bit up on this eye. And it's because it's such a weird angle trying to get to it. So now I need to touch it up again. But yeah, so just keep in mind that you don't need to, like, if you thin your paint, you don't need to thin Reaper as much as you would like a basic GW base coat color. And also, we have a lot fewer like washes and stuff. Instead, you can mix your own. We have a wash medium, and you can just use our brush on sealer to make your own wash, any color you want. All right, I'm gonna got some orange eyeballs, and now I want to get his teeth in there. So I'm gonna grab some of my walnut and mix it with some white to get kind of a off-white. Maybe I'll put a little yellow in it and a little bit of orange to make kind of a creamy color. It's not better. It's just we started out just using brush on sealer and water estrogene, and then we decided we wanted to just ready mix that for people. So it's a little bit of a different formulation. But in general, like, wash medium just means you don't have to do the custom mix of sealer and water. So if you just want something you can add to your paint, wash medium. If you like to kind of doctor it, though, to a point where you really think it works well, then just use sealer and water and adapt it to what you like. In other words, it's the same thing. I did use a slightly different balance of additives in the wash medium. There we go. Teeth. So it's not like one is better than the other. It's just different. A little bit different. But they're very similar. I use 4 drops brush on sealer, 2 drops of water, and 1 drop of paint to build my washes. And then I'll tune them, depending. I like to... yeah, he's got a good dental plan, right? Rawr. But I missed it. Okay, yeah, this is what I was doing. Man, my brain just wants to go skittering off on a Friday today. It's just like, I don't want to think about what we're doing. There, I was going to actually put a little bit of lining to the sides of the nose, I decided. Because I think the nose kind of comes down over the mustache. So having a little line there is good. But yeah, I like to doctor my washes to make them work, the way I want them to. So sometimes I really want a kind of a thicker, gooier wash, and sometimes I want more of a thin wash. And so mixing it with the sealer and the water lets me lets me customize just a little bit more. I can do the same customization with wash medium, but then I'm starting from the point of wash medium, and sometimes I like to start from a point of a thicker wash. Yeah, yes, I formulated everything, Krios, from the first days of Master Series paint, and then HD was the second set of Master Series. Like, it was the different line of Master Series, and then Bones and Pathfinder, the old heavy gear stuff that's been out of print for a while. And that's pretty much where I stopped. Things that are being done now are done by Sadie, but everything else was me. Even the second run of Pro Paints, not the original Pro Paints. That was when I was first learning to mix under Al at the old Reaper. But the second time we released Pro Paints, when we were giving them a try with a new formulation, I was in charge of that too. So, but pots just weren't where it was at for us, and the sales were never near as good as our dropper bottle line. So. Darkening up some stuff, tightening it up. Hey, look at how much progress we made today, guys. I don't think we have any, except for the handcuffs. We haven't done the manacles yet. Everything else has at least a coat of paint on it. Well, that and these are also going to be silver, so. And I'll have to question whether I want to put some silver elsewhere to balance it, or if I'm going to be fine. And I need to highlight. A lot of stuff needs to be highlighted yet, but yeah, we have ourselves a Dark Iron Dwarf. I mean, HD had got discontinued because Bones was the better line and was selling better. Krios, that's it. HD was out for several years. Like, it was a thing for several years. But then the difference is I had learned a lot when I went to do Bones. I made it as a line that meshed with HD because they had similar backgrounds. It's just Ed wanted a Bones branded paint line. But then it turned out that Bones was really probably the best thing I'd ever done because I just had learned so many tricks and working with materials. And then we had those new metallic flake technology going on. So Bones ended up being the superior line and it sold better. And so that's why HD got canceled. But then there were some colors in HD that were really utilitarian that did sell better. And so Ed brought those back into the end of the Bones line. So that's why you've got some of them have risen from the grave and gone into Bones. Bottom line is if it has the same name, even if it has a different item number, for example, Meadow Green or Dragon Blue, it is the same color from the HD. Yeah, but the pots never sold as well for us. Like, not ever, not even close to the droppers. Like, Pro Paint was so far below in sales. So people were just looking to get away from pots. Like, Vallejo had come in with dropper bottles, and a lot of the really good painters were like, oh, this is so much better, and my paint lasts longer, And then that's why when Reaper brought me on, they were like, we want a competitor to Vallejo's line of paint. And so that's why we went with droppers.
I remember in the early 2000s, there were so many online religious wars between pots and droppers.
Yeah, early 2000s. Everybody was like up in arms, and people were like, pots are better, droppers are a weakness. You know, in fact, some people, I won't name who they were, but some very highly placed people at some companies said that you couldn't be a real painter if you used dropper bottles. Yeah, not so much. I personally feel like you use what works for you, right? If you're using like especially with a wet palette, right? It doesn't matter whether you're getting your stuff out of a pot or a dropper. You're just putting down paint on the palette and then you're working with it.
That is pretty much true.
Yeah, so it always comes down to, you know, do what works for you. A little extra highlight here now on the beard with just suggesting some little strands here. I mixed my ogre skin yellow with a little bit of white, just to suggest a little bit more light. People will say the dangest things when they feel threatened. I mean, you got to understand that these were people who had invested so heavily in the pot game and who had painted out of pots for ages and really honestly felt that, you know, they were annoyed and threatened by the dropper bottles. And, you know, they felt like the dropper bottles were threatening to take over, and they didn't want that because they felt that pots were really the way that they painted. And so, I mean, everybody, whenever people say stuff like that, it's coming from a place of, you know, we want this to stay the way it is because this is the way we work, right? This is what we've invested in. This is how we paint, right? Some people are really good at shedding that and embracing new things, and other people get very, you know, grumpy about it. And, you know, like I said, if you're a wet palette painter, it doesn't matter. Yeah, exactly, Max Styles, right? Well, yeah, paint pots are going to dry out. You know why that is, Rebecca? Want to know the physics? That's because when you have a paint pot, sorry, GW, you have many different ways for air to enter the paint. Like, you've got this great seam down here, and you've got this seam up here. So you've got a double seam, or at most one big seam with the old Pro paints, right? But it's still, look at all the area this seam takes up, and there's air leaching in through there. I don't care how tight you close it, because air even leaches through the plastic. But this has such a wide aperture, and you're also opening it to get paint out all the time, right? So you're letting fresh air in to let that paint, you know, get all nice and dried out. Whereas with a dropper, you have a much smaller aperture, right? In fact, it's even smaller than that because you've got a double aperture. So you've got an extra barrier here in addition to the regular cap, and you are never opening this up unless you're adding water to your paint, which some people do. But you're never opening this up, so you're not letting more air in. So that is why just the way that you use a pot is prone to dry out. The way to get around the leaching in of air in this big aperture, by the way, is to store them upside down. At that point, the fluid closes it off, and a lot less air is going to come in, a lot less fresh air. Whereas I do not store droppers on their snouts, because then if there is going to be any clogging or any latex globbiness in here, it's going to go right up into the aperture that your paint comes out of and clog your bottle. So store this upright, store that upside down. You could put tape over it and that would help a little, Fubeca, but you're still opening it up regularly. So it's still going to like leach out. Yes, if you like, if I put a seal around this area, would that help? Yeah, it would. I mean, this stays pretty good just because every once in a while I'll open it up and just add some water. But I do have to do that like every year. Whereas Master Series paint, you really don't have to add water like more than, I say, if you add it every 5 or 6 years probably. It's like, it has at least double the lifespan.
Who keeps paint bottles for 5 or 6 years?
Me. Takes me a while to go through some of these. And you've got old paint over there. I see your paint, David Diamondstone.
Yeah, but that's probably paint that I'm never going to use.
Well, then toss it. All right.
I use regularly. Don't
I think we've done it, guys. I think I still need to highlight his eyebrows. But not bad for a Friday stream. Here, let me get some yellow. We'll just put a little bit of a highlight up on his, to bring out his little hairs here. There we go. That's nice. And then on the other side. I'll have to ask Justin when our next giveaway is. John, if you know, I assume there's a John out there because I saw him earlier. If you know when our next giveaway is going to be on the stream, let me know, or us know. But anyway, there we go. So look, guys, we got skin and hair on our dwarf, just like we said we would. Rawr, he says, rawr. You're here, Reaper Miniatures. All right, yeah, when is our next giveaway? Do you know? You're giving away Justin's lunch. Oh, sadness. Sadness, Justin says. Yeah, we should do it April 1st for my 18-year anniversary, Justin or John. Yeah, I would say, especially if your paint is just sitting around and not moving, I would shake it for sure every 4 or 5. Maybe add a couple drops of water. Yeah, we've got to do his little base. We've still got to highlight his black and purple and get the silver done. Probably do something like that. Probably. We should just give away a few like $25 gift certificates or something, Reaper Miniatures, for my birthday or for my anniversary day. Yeah, then I'd say that's about right then, Pan. Like every 5-6 years. Add just a few drops. Like I usually add about 10 drops. Shake it up. I just look at the consistency. We can absolutely do that for my anniversary. $21 gift cards. April Fools. No, I won't do that to you guys. But yeah, Reaper, let's do that. Let's do some gift certificates so that people can gift codes so that people can go out and buy whatever they want. It'll be my 18-year anniversary gift away. Okay, yeah, I knew you were trying to work out a bigger system. But let's do it for my anniversary. Just even if we only just give away 3 25s. That would be fun. And maybe I'll paint a Rocky. I'll have to dig out my Rockies, figure out where I stuffed them. We'll make it special. All right, cool. Cool. That sounds great. Okay, who are we rating? But yeah, I like this guy. I'm actually happier with this guy than I thought I would be too, guys. So now I'm looking forward to getting his shield done and all the rest of it is black all up highlighted. I think he's pretty cool. Yeah, you're welcome, guys. Thank you for showing up. Thank you all for showing up. And I'll be back Monday. I'll probably be kind of like, because I'll have gone and done that long, long road trip. But worth it to see my parents. Who we doing? Oh. Miniatures Den. All right. Have fun, guys. Yep, time for me to go for my walk and get some lunch together. All right. Have a great one, and I will see you all Monday. Thank you all for showing up. Have a good one.